Hey everyone. Her first ever diary was given to her by her mother when she was only 13. Its first line read, "This book Mama gave me that I might write the journal of my journey to Wales in it." Princess Victoria would continue to document her extraordinary life until her death in 1901. Today, let's know about the secret life of Queen Victoria. Let's start the video, but before that, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. Despite upholding the Victorian stereotype of being extremely grumpy, reserved, and ill-tempered, Queen Victoria's diaries show her good humor, her intelligence, and her complexity. But mostly, the diaries show just how in love she was with her husband, Albert. Even after many rounds of editing from her daughter and various priests close to the Queen, her sensuality and sexual nature can be clearly perceived in her writing. While the Victorian era is not known for being particularly expressive about sex, it is clear that Victoria and Albert enjoyed a sexually fulfilling relationship, parenting 9 children. Victoria is famous for being a reluctant mother and not for caring too much for babies. However, the couple never once stopped procreating. After the birth of her 9th child, the royal doctor reportedly warned Victoria to stop having children. The tenderness that she expressed when she spoke about Albert remained hidden within her diaries and between the couple until after her death. She described him as having beautiful blue eyes, an exquisite nose, and a pretty mouth with delicate mustache and slight but very slight whiskers. She also wrote about his beautiful figure, broad shoulders, and his fine waist. Her admiration of Albert's physicality continues to be seen throughout volumes of her diaries. Albert and Victoria supposedly had a button that could lock their door directly from their bed installed in their bedroom at Buckingham Palace. They also gave each other rather risque gifts, including an erotic painting from artist Franz Xaver Winterhalter, which depicts a group of bare-breasted women preparing to bathe. Albert, at one point, decided the perfect present for his queen was to commission a marble statue of himself portrayed as a sensual Greek warrior. Later on, Victoria thought it was too sexual and moved it to a private residence. When Albert died, Victoria was just 42 years old, and while it was normal for wives to enter into public mourning for a year, Victoria remained dressed in mourning black for the rest of her life. In the first 4 years after his death, she resigned from public duties and was not seen in public or leaving Buckingham Palace at all. Her dedication to mourning the loss of a life partner started the trend for mourning periods and clothing as we know it now. Perhaps the most scandalous and controversial aspect of Queen Victoria's private life was her relationship with Indian attendant Abdul Karim. Abdul had been sent over to England ahead of the coronation of Victoria after the monarch had voiced her interest in learning about the Indian territories. He was chosen to hand a gift to Victoria during proceedings where the two apparently connected and formed a bond that would last for over a decade until her death in 1901. At Victoria's summer home on the Isle of Wight, shortly after the Golden Jubilee, Karim impressed the monarch by making her chicken curry with dal and pilau. She wrote about her fondness of Abdul. The scandal that their relationship caused is not publicly known and can most accurately be felt when we look at how seriously the monarch's family took the task of erasing all knowledge of him from the history books. Victoria's daughter, Beatrice, was in charge of editing and censoring the extended diaries of Queen Victoria and removed any mention of Abdul's name. There are just a few clues left in her writing that allude to Abdul's presence in Buckingham Palace and his close proximity to the Queen. For example, Victoria wrote about learning a few words of Hindustani in her diaries. Every letter the pair exchanged was burned alongside all the papers from their language lessons together. Abdul was deported back to India and evicted from the properties that Victoria purchased for him. Beyond the interracial aspect of the relationship that offended the members of the royal house, the jealousy that surrounded the pair was no doubt due in part to the lavish favorability Abdul enjoyed. He was allowed to carry swords and he was given many medals by the monarch. His wife and family were flown over and given homes in each of the Queen's estates. There was also the land bought for them back in their native India. Victoria's assistant private secretary Fritz Ponsonby quoted her as having said to the royal house that there was racial prejudice and jealousy of the poor Munshi. Over 100 years passed after her death until an eagle-eyed art historian noticed some discrepancies and clues in paintings and gifts led by the monarch. A full investigation ensued that the incredible story of Victoria and Abdul was unearthed, a testament to the extremely modern temperament of Queen Victoria. The famously grouchy monarch's first request upon becoming queen, just months after her 18th birthday, was to be left totally alone for 1 hour. It is not surprising that one such as herself, born and raised to be queen, should have a more balanced character given her upbringing in the Kensington manner of intense routine, protocol, and endless education. A great example of this is the wedding dress of Queen Victoria. While it is normal for us to see brides in white, Queen Victoria was the first woman to popularize this trend. The first mention of white in her diaries comes in her explanation of the wedding day proceedings. She wrote about wearing a white satin dress with a deep flounce of Honiton lace, a Turkish diamond necklace and earrings, and Albert's sapphire branch. Many of these customs, from the brooch to the gifts to the orange blossom head wreath, were initiated on this day so that the public could imitate Queen Victoria and her tasteful ceremony. Guests were instructed not to wear white so as to not to distract anyone from her dress, thus starting the trend for white bridal dresses and non-white wedding guest attire. The unusual change of the bridal dress into the evening dress is also documented in the intimate diaries of the Queen. Victoria wrote about putting on a white silk gown trimmed with swan's down and a bonnet with orange flowers. Albert also changed his clothes. The day would mark the beginning of a flurry of new wedding trends that persists to this day. All lace cuts and templates for both dresses and both veils used in the wedding wardrobe were destroyed upon request of the Queen so that no one could ever replicate the exact detail of her dress, making it a one-in-a-million wedding dress. Queen Victoria was well renowned for her watercolors, and those of her daughter's wedding are some of her most touching ones. Well, that's it for today. I hope you're liking Nerdies discoveries. Can't wait for the next video to learn more and be fascinated about. See you on the next. Bye.